moving forward, just thank you for blessing us. We ask you to be with us in this meeting, that everything would be said and done will bring honor to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call roll, Madam Secretary.
Councilman Anderson,
Here.
Councilman Bryant,
Here.
Councilman Fuller, Councilman Holloway,
Here.
Councilman Jolly,
Here.
Councilman True,
Here.
Mayor Miller.
Here. All present except Councilman Fuller, and he had a hip replacement. Had a pretty good bit of pain, so he figured he better stay at home tonight. You received the minutes from the October 28th, 2019 meeting. Is there any additions or corrections? If I hear none, do I hear a motion to be approved? So moved. Motion by Councilman Holloway. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Bryant. Councilman Holloway.
Nothing.
Councilman Bryant.
Nothing.
Anyone? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the ayes have it. Next item is presentation and approval of financials, October 2019 financial reports and bank statements. Do I hear a motion to be approved as submitted?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman True. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Anderson. Councilman Jolly. Councilman True.
I'd like to yield the floor to Ms. Ruby.
Ms. Rupi.
You have a copy of all the bank statements in your packet. In the general fund, the ending balance for October 31st was $672,117.08. Reserve and emergency, $19,248.38. And we will probably put that $100,000 back in there in December that we took out a couple months ago. TVA Foundation funds, $19,935.42. Payroll fund, $770.25. In the drug fund, I noticed last month, the interest was added in there twice. I corrected it, and this month's total was correct, $46,529.95. State Street Aid, $74,899.68. You'll notice there wasn't a deposit in the month of October, and the reason there wasn't, it came in a couple of days late, and it will be recorded in the November bank statement. Smile Drug Fund, $1,557.54. Special Revenue Fund, $212,728.18. Capital Projects, $33,464.43. And the capital investments at Raymond James, $361,145.86. And you have a copy of all the bank statements themselves. And you have a copy of the summary financial statement for the month of October. A couple of things that I noticed, our building permits, we had $15,000 budgeted for the year, and we're already over $15,000. We're only 4 months in, so that's a good sign that people are building and buying permits. We're doing pretty good on our property taxes too. Just been collecting, started in October. Already collected $307,000 of our $800,000 of property taxes. The gym floor that we had to have replaced, if you'll turn to the second page, on insurance recoveries, we only had $7,000 budgeted, and that's just in case for when things happen and we get reimbursed. It's already showing that we collected $16,000, which is like $9,000 more. That's because we replaced that gym floor. And we will be putting that money back into the park and rec budget. That's mostly about all I noticed. All departments seem to be in the percentage they need to be. And you have a copy of the reconciled and unreconciled checks for the month of October.
Anything further, Councilman True?
Nothing.
Councilman Jolly.
I'd just like to thank Ms. Ruth and her staff for the job they've done, us working on all this and the good reports you gave.
Anyone else? Ms. Rupi, so the general fund, the reason the balance is so much bigger than last month is because of property tax?
Yes. It's like $307,000, so it's almost double what it would have been last month.
Anything further? Call roll.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilman Bryant,
Yes.
Councilman Fuller, not here, Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Jolly,
Yes.
Councilman True,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, and the ayes have it. Next item is public comments. We always like to open the floor to anyone that'd like to address the mayor and council. All we ask is that you come forward and state your name and address, and this will be the last time that you be allowed to address the mayor and council unless a council member yields the floor to you. Anyone? Yes, ma'am. You can stand right there. We can hear you.
My name's Deborah Ward. I live at 106 East Dunn Street.
106 East Dunn.
Correct. I'm fairly new to Rockwood, and I'm more interested in like the beautification and keeping everything nice. And I had called not too long ago in regard to having a question answered about old signs that are on the corners everywhere, that are businesses, churches that are no longer in use or service. If they can come down, whose responsibility can I take it down?
Well, let us look at them before we start taking
Yeah.
them down, okay?
Yeah, because I mean, you can't even see them, so if they gotta stay up, I'll go clean them, but I mean, it
What,
just.
have you got some specific places?
Well, the corner of 106 East Dunn, it seems to be like a hot spot for people just sticking signs and, you know, there's signs that are,
Will you make a
I
note?
already talked to Christie about
Okay, will you make a note? We make sure, we'll get that check for you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming. Welcome to Rockwood.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Cow?
Well, I'm Mary Cow, I live at 433 South Chamberlain Avenue, and I was gonna just remind everybody that December the 7th, a week from Thursday, is the home tour and also the tree lighting ceremony. And I see that you already have it on your agenda, so no need in me saying it, I suppose, but I just thought I would anyway, since I planned to. So everybody come, and we're gonna have extra games and things that Sherry Hill from the Women That Live has decided to do called reindeer games for kids. And that will be in that area that was torn down for the water
Right.
building across the street from the Women That Live. So anyway, it looks like it's going to be a fun day. Everybody pray for good weather.
So that's Saturday, December the 7th, correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else? Again, we thank all of you for coming. Committee reports from council, do we have any tonight? Anyone? Okay, moving on to old business. Ordinance 1263, an ordinance concerning the disposal of unclaimed property. What this is the state passed a thing for counties, how they're supposed to, their police department is supposed to get rid of unclaimed properties, and they require us as cities to pass an ordinance. So this will be our, I'm going to open the public hearing right now for ordinance 1263 concerning disposal of unclaimed properties. Public hearing is open. Anyone? Last call. Public hearing is closed. Moving on to ordinance 1263, second and final reading, ordinance concerning the disposal of unclaimed properties. What's the will of the council?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Jolly. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Holloway. Councilman Jolly.
This, ordinance, is it pretty much piggybacking what the state's done, or did we?
Just makes us, the way I understand it,
Makes
makes
us
us,
legal with the state.
Well, it doesn't, you're not illegal or in violation of any state law. It's just there's no procedure in the state statute for cities to deal with abandoned property if it's not an automobile. So this establishes a procedure for the city to follow when dealing with abandoned property that comes into the possession of the police department.
Thank you.
anyone else? Councilman Holloway.
Explain it, Mayor. I was just gonna say, this is totally different than the sheriff's office, so.
Anyone else? Call roll.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilman Bryant,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Jolly,
Yes.
Councilman True,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, and the ayes have it. Next item is ordinance 1264, an ordinance rezoning certain parcels along South Front and Rathrum Street to C1. This is down at the corner of Rathrum and South Front. This is the water department property that they recommended that we change. We took it before, they took it before the planning commission. Planning commission is recommending it. So I now open the public hearing for ordinance 1264. Anyone like to address ordinance 1264? Last call. Public hearing is closed. Moving on to ordinance 1264, an ordinance rezoning certain parcels along South Front and Rathburn, second final reading. What's the will of the council?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman True. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Bryant. Councilman True, do you have anything?
Nothing.
Councilman Bryant?
No, sir, not this time.
Anyone? Call a roll.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilman Bryant,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Jolly,
Yes.
Councilman True,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, and the ayes have it. Next item is new business is ordinance 1265, an ordinance replacing title 14, chapters 1 and 2 of the Rockwood Municipal Code concerning zoning and land use control. This is first reading. As mayor, I'm a member of the planning commission, and we've probably spent anywhere from 6 to 8 months on this. Is that correct? And worked hard on it, and we finally got it to where we think we're good with it. So it's a recommendation of the planning commission that we approve ordinance 1265. And remember, next month we'll have a public hearing and second final reading. What's the will of the council? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Jolly. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Holloway. Councilman Jolly.
I'd just like to thank you and staff on this board for all the hard work that's put in. I know you go through a lot, put a lot of work into these, so thank you.
And I emailed a copy out to everybody, but if anybody should want one to look at in print, you can see me and I'll get you one.
Councilman Holloway. Anyone? I'd just like to say that it takes a lot of time and effort to go through these page by page and corrections, and people have different opinions of them. And Mary Cal's our chairman, and it took us a long time, but I think it's a good code, and I think it'll work well, and I'm just glad that we've got it over with. I just hope y'all approve it. Anything further? Call a roll.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilman Bryant,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Jolly,
Yes.
Councilman True,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, and the ayes have it. Next item is Resolution 1946, resolution to ratify settlement of City of Rockwood versus Cook. As y'all know, we filed a lawsuit, and before we went to court on it, the Cook family, the kids that are left, offered to give us this property, and this is the resolution to accept it. What's the will of the council? Motion by Councilman Holloway. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman True. Councilman Holloway.
You explained it, Mayor.
Councilman True.
Yeah.
And I just want to let y'all know that this is another house that we're going to be able to get torn down, and we've already took some quotes on that. Anything further? Call roll.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilman Bryant,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Jolly,
Yes.
Councilman True,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, and the ayes have it. Next item is consideration of milling quotes on pump house for Tom Fuller grant, and this is in addition to the grant. They came to us and said there needed to be some milling down there on the sides, so we got 3 quotes. And you'll see that this quote was $6,179.50, and they're gonna do the other, which is $7,200, so we felt like it's pretty good because the other quotes we got were $16,000 and $13,000. So we felt like this was the way to go, get that done, because it has to be done to get those sidewalks in. What's the will of the council?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Bryant. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Jolly. Councilman Bryant.
Nothing.
Councilman Jolly.
I'm just glad that this project's taken off, and starting to see something finally. It's been going on a long time.
Yes, it has. Anyone else? Call the roll.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilman Bryant,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Jolly,
Yes.
Councilman True,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, and the ayes have it. Next item, I'm gonna need y'all to waive the 5-day rule, and you know how much I hate waiving the 5-day rule, but it seems like we're doing it more and more. The TVA has called us and said that we passed a resolution 2 years ago regarding the lakefront property where we're asking for them to change some things so that we can get some recreational opportunities. And they've asked us to get a new I am happy to say that the marina project and all that is moving forward. So it is really taken off, and they asked us to get a new resolution and wanted it to get to them as soon as possible. The quicker we get things to them, the quicker they move. So what I'm asking y'all to do is waive the 5-day rule to consider a resolution encouraging TVA to allow us to use this land in a different way. I need a motion to waive the 5-day rule.
Motion with 5-day rule.
Motion by Councilman True. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Anderson. Councilman True, do you have anything on waiving the 5-day rule?
No, sir.
Councilman Anderson?
No.
Anyone? This motion is just to waive the 5-day rule. Call the roll, please.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilman Bryant,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Jolly,
Yes.
Councilman True,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, and the ayes have it. The resolution is 1947, and Ms. Rupi, do you have a copy of it?
I do.
Would you please read it?
This is a resolution showing support for recreational opportunities on our lakefront property, whereas the Rockwood Mayor and City Council encourages and supports recreational opportunities within its borders. The United States of America, by and through its agent, the Tennessee Valley Authority, owns and operates public lands within the city of Rockwood. And whereas TVA owns a parcel of land in the city of Rockwood identified as tract number XBWR-1234 that is allocated for developed recreation in the Big Water Reservoir Land Management Plan. And whereas TVA requires local government support under its phased approach for its development of recreation sites before it can accept an application to develop such properties. Whereas Blue Ridge Development LLC has requested to use the subject TVA land for developing but not limited to marina facilities, RV facilities, a marina, and all associated roads, utilities, and associated facilities. And whereas the Rockwood Mayor and the City Council supports TVA's recreation effords in its city limits and believes the development of recreational opportunities will benefit all its citizens within the city. Be it resolved that the Rockwood Mayor and City Council, as representatives of the residents and citizens of Rockwood, Tennessee, acknowledges its support of the subject request.
Any comments? I think we've already got a motion in a second. No, need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Holloway. Do we have a second to approve Resolution 1947? Second by Councilman Anderson. Councilman Holloway.
Now, Chair, explain it. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Anderson.
Nothing.
Anyone? Call her up.
Councilman Anderson,
Yes.
Councilman Bryant,
Yes.
Councilman Holloway,
Yes.
Councilman Jolly,
Yes.
Councilman True,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, and the ayes have it. Comments? Councilman Bryant, do you have anything tonight?
Looking forward to our movement down there at the beach and getting them walkways in. I'm excited about that.
Thank you. Councilman True.
No comments.
Councilman Jolly.
Nothing.
Councilman Anderson. Councilman Holloway.
I've got a question for Chief Crabtree back here. Notice about working on the fire hydrants, or are we getting our flow of the water, of the fire hydrants back where they need to be?
Yeah, we made some improvements in different places.
Okay. Sounds good.
Anything else?
And I'd just like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Yep.
That's it.
I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I'd like to read these things to you so we'll remember. Saturday, December 7th, home tour from 11 to 6. Reindeer games for kids downtown from 11 to 5. And lighting of the tree from 6:30 to 7. Monday, December the 9th, that's a Christmas parade, line up at 6, parade at 7. Monday, December the 16th, we moved our city council meeting, it'll be at 6 p.m. right here in these chambers. And then Monday, December 23rd, that's employee breakfast at the community center at 10 a.m. So make sure I'd like for all of you to be there, it'd be good. I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. When y'all get a chance, if it's before, you can wait till the 23rd, I'd like for you to go by and see the community center. It's really, really nice, the work they've done upstairs. It looks really, really good. They will start next Monday, and we'll have the whole gym. I met with them the other day, we got some things donated, and they're gonna start painting the inside of the gym to go along with the floor. They got a tarp to put over the floor, so they get the paint, and when we get that done, we'll be done. And it really, really looks nice. The new floor, we did some work on the steps, the rooms look really nice. I'd like for you to go by there and see it. It's really spruced it up, and that's because you all are willing to let us use that money out of that TVA funds to improve it. So I appreciate y'all's support on that, but I'd like for you to go down there and see it. And I know you can December 31st, at the 23rd at the breakfast, but it looks really, really nice. I went by there the other day. And I'd like to thank all the employees and the department heads for the work that they put in, and I appreciate everything they've done. They're doing a tremendous job. We're getting a lot accomplished, and we'll continue to work on that. Do I hear a motion we adjourn? Motion by Councilman Holloway. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman John. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
All rise. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. This Honorable Commissioners meeting of Roane County, Tennessee is now in session. The Honorable Randy Ellis, Chairman, presiding. God bless these United States, the great state of Tennessee, and this honorable meeting. At this time, our Commissioner David Bell will lead us in prayer. Afterwards, please remain standing to the pledge of the American flag.
All right, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, come before you tonight, just thanking you for the opportunity just to wake up this morning. Lord, that I was able just to be up and to see your goodness as the sun rose.
Yeah.
Lord, I just come to you humbly, asking personally that the 25 souls that I've seen saved this week would be nourished by the church.
Amen.
I ask you that the church also rise up here. I ask you that the leaders in the church rise up. That's the only thing, Lord, that's going to help our communities and our country.
Yeah.
I ask that the leaders in the community, the leaders right here, pray before decisions, so it will be a godly decision, Lord. And I thank you for all these guys. I thank you for the opportunity to be here and stand in the gap. And I ask that you put it on our hearts that weighs heavy, that the decisions we make impacts lives for the better or for the worse, Lord. Lord, I thank you for your Son who died for us.
Yeah.
The opportunity for salvation, for most of all, forgiveness.
Yes.
And Lord, it's just so awesome that you think that much of us. Lord, I ask that you be with these leaders at the highest level down to the lowest level. And just put a burden in their heart to do the next right thing, Lord. Lord, thank you again for the breath of air that you allowed us to breathe this morning. It's in your Son's Jesus' name we ask you and thank you for these things. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. If you have a cell phone, please turn it down. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Moore. Go ahead.
I'd like to thank everybody for their prayers and their gifts, cards and everything during the loss of my mother. It means a whole lot to me.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I still remember Commissioner Moore in our prayers, and most of us realize how hard it is to lose a mother and a parent, so
especially remember Mr. Moore in your prayers. Right quick before we get started, we always try to make it customary to recognize elected officials that's here visiting today. We got Mr. State Representative Kent Calfee, State Senator Ken Yeager, they'll be coming up in a second. We got Bobby Anderson, he is a city councilman from the city of Rockwood. Thank you all for coming. I don't think I've missed anyone. Without objection, if it's all right with the commission, I want to go ahead and move a few things to the front before we even get started. I want to go ahead and recognize State Representative Kent Calfee and State Senator Ken Yeager.
Okay.
Right quick, just let the record reflect, we have 14 present commissioners per our roll call, and we have one absent as of the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the best things about this job is recognizing individuals or groups for their accomplishments. And we have two tonight. The first one we're going to talk about is the Roane County Rescue Squad on their 60th anniversary. We've been trying to get this done for a few months, and there's always some issue. And I'd like to give a little personal note. Back in the day when we had a very active community club at the Cave Creek, when all the stuff started coming in out of the garden, and all the old saints, most of them are gone now, the old ladies that my mother and a lot of them that fixed an unbelievable meal, and they'd come up and show us the latest rescue equipment they had, and as the saying is, a good time was had by all, and I sure do miss those days. It's been a long time. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is for myself, Senator Yeager, and Representative Travis. And just briefly, it's upon the occasion of the 60th anniversary, whereas it is fitting that we should salute the men and women of rescue squads who, in the course of discharging their vital public duties, provide services that dramatically improve communities and outcomes for individuals seriously injured or in peril. Whereas one such group is the Roane County Rescue Squad, which has a staff of the highest quality, skilled, and dedicated, and celebrating its 60th anniversary of public service this year. And whereas founded in 1959, the Roane County Rescue Squad has since grown to become one of the very best rescue squads in the state of Tennessee. And Ken, if you'd like to read some more, just quit when you take an ocean. We'll give them a proclamation.
I'll bring it to a conclusion. Where the members of the Roane County Rescue Squad are truly dedicated to the health and well-being of their fellow Tennesseans for their prodigious efforts on behalf of the people of this state should be recognized. And then the language continues, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 111th General Assembly with the concurrence of Senator Yeager and others, that we do hereby extend our best wishes on the celebration of their 60th anniversary. Let me add that in years past I had the privilege to serve on the board for the rescue squad, and that was certainly one of the most pleasant experiences that I had, because I got to witness firsthand the work that these men and women do to save lives, and the preparation that they make. They are really very dedicated to their job, and this is the least we could do to recognize that service.
You all will stand forward. We're going to finish with the representative and the senator just right up here in front of the podium. Where do you want? Right up here, just circle around here, y'all.
And like I said, it's always a great thing to honor a group that's accomplished so much. So with that, I'm going to turn that over to whoever wants it. And as they say, it's suitable for framing.
Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, but just from all of us that have been in the rescue squad for quite a few years, J.T. Robinson right here is one of the founding members from 1959. see it.
No, yeah.
Here, I'll share it with you. There we go. And all the captains and all the members in the past, and our board of directors, which there's 3 of them sitting in here tonight, and a past board member in here. So thank to everybody that supports us, and hope to see another 60 years.
Any commissioners like that?
I just think it's fitting that we pass by your garage every day, thousands of times over the period of years. We don't think much about it until we read about you've done in the paper, whether it's on the water, in the woods, in a cave, wherever. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, guys.
That's easy.
Thanks, Senator Jagger. Representative Calfee has one more.
Now this one's probably not popular as that one was. This is recognizing Ron Berry upon his election to the Board of Directors of the National Association of Counties. And whereas it is a pleasure of the members of the General Assembly to recognize those civic leaders who continue their communities to their communities and improve Tennessee and move it forward. Whereas such Tennessean is Ron Berry, who was recently elected to serve on the Board of Directors of the National Association of Counties, NACO.
And let me say that having served in some of these associations when I was in county government, I'm aware how important these particular leadership positions are, particularly the one that Mr. Berry was elected to. It is certainly a recognition of his ability and their confidence in him. And I'm glad to join Representative Calfee on this resolution commending him for this achievement.
And this is signed by Ron Travis, Representative Ron Travis, Representative Calfee, Senator Yeager, Governor Bill Lee, Speaker of the Senate, Randy McNally, and Speaker of the House, Glenn Castor. So,
Mr. Berry?
Good to see you in the paper now.
Mr. Berry, would you like to say a few words?
Of course he would.
I don't
Just a few.
25 words or less.
I appreciate this very much. I appreciate serving Roane County as well as all the other 94 counties in the state on the NACO board. And NACO is a great organization that serves us really well. And thank you guys. Appreciate you very much.
Also, a quick reminder, Senator Yeager threatened bodily harm if I didn't mention his chili supper is Friday night from 5 to 7 at Roane State in benefit of the Roane County United Way. So he said he hopes to see everyone there. If you hadn't had tickets yet, he'd be happy to sell you some. Also, without objection, I would like to go ahead and move a special order up presentation of Resolution 1119-S01 honoring the Kingston High School golf team. Do I have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Bell, second by Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Bell.
I believe David Boshiers is the one that put this resolution.
If you want, you may flip it back and you let him get the motion. Go ahead and get the motion and you get the second.
Okay, you want me to?
Go right ahead.
Well, I make a motion.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to honor the golf team because they turn around here. And that's a big thing to come in at least second place even in the state with that many kids playing. Or young people. They're not kids anymore. They're young men. And they've done an excellent job. And they've had 2 excellent coaches because I know both of them.
Mr. Wilson.
No, I concur with it. I'm very proud of your accomplishment. It's something you can raise your head high about, and Roane County is proud of you. Kingston's proud of you, and just I just appreciate it. You've done a good job, guys.
Mr. Bell.
So Jackets.
As anyone knows, golf's not an easy sport, so that's a big accomplishment for you all. So I got a motion by Commissioner Brashear, second by Commissioner Wilson. We'll do this on a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. If you all could come up, guys. That be.
I gotta get out of here. I got a big watch. Which one do we?
It ain't no can to you.
I'll have Commissioner Bell go ahead and read the resolution for you all while they're together here.
Resolution honoring the Kingston golf team, I'm not gonna say high school every time, for their winning performance. Whereas the Kingston golf team excelled in postseason play, and whereas the Kingston golf team finished runners-up in the TSSAA Division I golf tournament, and whereas the Kingston golf team players are commended for their efforts and their dedication to the game, and whereas Coach Mike Spanky Neal and Assistant Coach Landon Harden are to be commended for their leadership and their dedication to the team, whereas it's altogether fitting and proper that the Kingston golf team be honored for their performance in the regular season and postseason play. Now thereof it be resolved that the Roane County Commission does hereby honor the Kingston golf team for their winning performance. Be there resolved that a copy of the resolution be presented to the coaches, Spanky Neal and Landon Harden, and players Jesse Griffith, Blake Woody, Colby Johnson, Ben Mullis, Logan Carter, Malcolm Sherbine, Caleb Tejeda, and Brady Reynolds.
Coach, would you like, either one of y'all like to say something?
I just want to say we appreciate y'all having us. We try to represent Kingston and the county as good as we could. These kids were a pleasure to coach. I look forward to coaching them again next year. I look forward to the seniors succeeding in what they choose to go on to do. And just, I can't say enough about these nine boys that I coached this year. It was something special.
Yeah, this isn't the first time Kingston's been in the spotlight with at least one of the coaches. And I've personally been to the state twice with two different teams and watched us win twice. So that was when I was in high school, which is far enough back.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
You did say you went to watch, though. You didn't play, right?
No, they wouldn't have me swing golf club.
No, he brought back a souvenir, though.
Yeah, that's right.
They hadn't discovered graphite at that time.
No.
Landon, would you like to say anything?
I'd like to thank everybody for having us tonight. Special group of kids representing our city and county well. You know, we won 41-3 records, pretty good season, and we've laid the foundation, and we're looking to do better next year. So this group's been great, and look forward to the future of our program.
Very good. Guys, would y'all like to say anything? Now's your opportunity.
Go Jackets.
They said
That's right, go Jackets, baby.
They said as much as they wanted a civics lesson, they asked if they could get out here as quick as they could. But thank you guys again. Coach, Commissioner Brashear will get you all the resolutions today. All
right, thank you.
So we are going to do a resolution for them.
Yes, okay, yes, we'll get them. We did.
Awesome trip, man.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Coach.
No problem, buddy.
Just to make it official, Resolution 1119S01 was adopted unanimously. Right quick, two more announcements. We're going to recognize Mr. Carter Bowley. If you could stand up, Carter, for me. He is here as representative of Roane County Youth Leadership 2019. Okay, we'll move back on to our regular agenda. Approval of minutes for the October 17, 2019 meeting. Motion by Commissioner Hickman, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Hickman.
No
Commissioner White.
Nothing to add, sir.
Any other questions or comments? We'll try to do this on a voice vote, so we miss it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Minutes have been approved, October 17, 2019. Acceptance of committee reports and correspondence. Motion by Commissioner Berry, second by Commissioner Moore. Commissioner Berry.
I have nothing.
Yes.
You sure, Mr. Berry? Okay, I was gonna
Go on.
Commissioner Moore, go right ahead.
We need to give him another plaque.
Give me a resolution every meeting.
Not one up.
We're on a roll there.
Yeah, well, the rest of the one that's left. Everybody got me sick.
This has been a feel-good meeting so far.
Any other questions or comments on approval of committee reports and correspondence? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Acceptance of committee reports and correspondence approved. Moving to the notaries, Madam Clerk.
Elizabeth H. Bolden, Pamela Long Byers, John Choate, Brenda G. Cordell, Skylar Davis, Jared Rick Houston, Renisha G. Maples, Cassandra Miles, Candace Monroe, Ellen Russell, Chelsea Scarborough, and Brenda Lee Young.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hendrickson, second by Commissioner Bell. I think he hit that amend on accident. Commissioner Hendrickson.
Appreciate your willingness, sir.
Commissioner Bell.
Same here.
Any other questions or comments on the notaries? We'll have to do a roll call on this since we're technically, by TSA, electing these notaries, so if you could vote, please.
Vote.
Yes.
This communication system got me whipped today.
Notaries have been approved by 14-0. At this point, it comes to the hearing of delegations. This is an opportunity that's been set aside on our agenda for the public to address the county commission. We asked if you're here in a group to try to address your concerns through a spokesman and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and this will be your only time to speak unless a commissioner yields to you later in the meeting. If you could step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Tony Byer. Live at Bowman's Bend off of Watts Bar Lake. I almost hate to get into this, but I feel the need. It goes back to the last meeting, which, as you all know, is pretty much a marathon meeting. And I wish Commissioner Gann was here, because he was the one that inspired me. He got up and spoke about the school votes that were had some time ago for the Oliver Springs and Midway. And I went back and checked, because I thought it was some time ago, but it was in October 16th of 18 paper that this board, this commission, votes to approve the plans for Midway and Oliver Springs. That was October a year ago, 13 months now. Then in November, now just a year ago, it came back and the funds were approved. $7.1 million were approved for those two projects, and which means our taxes went up. Now come, well, I don't know exactly the meeting, it was either June or July when the budget meeting happened. There was another tax increase put in. I remember it was a penny for firefighters, it was 2 or 3 cents for this, and 2 or 3 cents for that. Was it 6 or 7 cents? And part of that was kind of in for something to come. Here's what I understand. This commission voted to start the 2 projects 12-2. They voted the funding 13-1. And then the tax increase that came in June or July, with the funding from back last November and the one in June and July, it would actually fund the new value of 10 point whatever million dollars. But that didn't get approved last month. Now, as a taxpayer, I'm standing there, we approved 2 tax increases and we're not getting anything for it. I mean, it was explicitly voted, I understand the 7.1 wasn't enough, but now we're doing nothing, even though we got a tax increase, and I'm just, as a taxpayer, I'm somewhat confused why this commission couldn't get together and
passed that last time. I guess it's not even on the agenda this week, but. So anyway, I just want to get my 2 cents in, because that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. He's fresh off his Garth Brooks tour, so he had a good concert last night. The county executive without objections asked to address.
Mr. Bowers, just a big clarification. When they approved the funding in November or December, whenever it was, the tax increase last fall, you only do a tax increase if you're changing the tax rate once a year. So they approved the project. I mean, you're right on everything, except there wasn't 2 tax increases. There was just one.
For the total.
It was for the total, that's correct. But there was 1 tax increase, and it was for debt service. There was a penny that went to the volunteer fire department. The other went to the debt service for that project.
10 cents.
10.
Anyone else like to address the commission? Anyone else like to address the commission? Seeing none, we'll move along to the county attorney's report. And I've already tried to get out of him who his tailor is, and he won't tell me again today. So, Mr. Matthew.
I'm gonna wear overalls.
Put that for the record.
Mr. Chairman, my report deals only with the letter we got from the Attorney General last month on the opioid suit. And there is a resolution at the end of the agenda pertaining to that. So do you wish for me to wait until that resolution comes up?
Is that the will of the commission? We'll just wait till it comes up. That'll work. Thank you. We'll move on to the county executive's report. And as you can see how quickly we're moving, Mr. Woody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things I have. First of all, Connie has passed out a financial report for the end of the month. We can take a look at that if you want to right quick. It's good if you're looking at that, if you're taking it home to get your budget out, look at those together. I'm just going to hit a few highlight numbers just so you can see kind of where we're at. So the first page, the first line is property tax. So this is the way we roll. It is November. We are 5 months into the fiscal year, and you can see we have collected a little less than 8% property tax. Okay? So that said, that's the reason we have fund balances to cash flow our operations, because the biggest revenue source in the general fund at $8.5 million is property tax. We will get the bulk of that in December and in February. So each fund has a different fund balance because each fund cash flows differently. So part of our fund balance is for cash flow. So it just shows the budget estimate, actual collected, the percentage, and then the balance to collect. So the first 2 pages deal with the revenue. At the bottom of the second page, the budget committee will look at that last number because this is going to change probably substantial for us. Contract prisoner board, last year we received over $800,000. The previous year was under 8. We had budgeted $800,000. We've received $250,000 so far. We estimated at $555,000. That number we are sure will be a whole lot less than the $800,000. People, we got folks in the sheriff's department, but most of the TDOC inmates, a lot of them have exited our jail already. That's where we collect this money. The rest of them are scheduled to probably go out in the next 30 days or so. So this number will be substantially reduced. The next page, you'll see the revenues end up at the top third of the page, and you begin with the expenditures. Just to draw your attention on the general fund on the next page, you have an account number 54210, jail. You'll see that. You'll see that the jail budget is $3.8 million almost. That number's not going to change a whole lot because we still have to have the same employees over there. So your expenditures will not change or drop a whole lot just because our TDOC inmates are out. We anticipate that number also going up because it appears that we will have to start contracting out for our locals. But There's been a committee that met today with the DA, the public defender. Commissioner Hester, I think, attended that. They're trying to do what they can to get the numbers down. I guess when we had our work session, it was about 320. We're down to 280 something now. So that number is continuing to change. Those pages conclude the general fund. There's a lot of details in there. And then each fund is about a page itself. 116 solid waste is a page. Then you have the ambulance department, 118, 121 special purpose, drug fund 122, 128, and then you got 131 is a highway fund. That is our next general fund. You have the general fund, the general highway fund. The following page is the general purpose school fund. And as you go through these, you'll find that if you compare revenues with expenditures, we budgeted a whole lot more expenses than revenue, and that's because we anticipate a lot of the expenditure budgets. We ask people to be very frugal and not spend their money, so we do a calculation on that. The general purpose school fund is different than that, the way they have to adopt theirs. Their budget is basically balance short $500,000 if they're doing a transfer. But on the revenue side, these are the little idiosyncrasies about our budgets. They have an account 44,570. These pages this is page 11 of 30 on the top right hand side. 11 of 30. If you see the account 44,570, you all see that?
Yes.
$1.8 million. That's a fake number. Where we budget out of balance, they have to budget a revenue to do the same calculations we do. So that gifts and contribution, I don't expect we're going to have a benefactor out there that's going to give us $1.8 million. Okay, so these budgets have been worked this way for decades and decades, but if you're not in them day in and day out, you don't understand all this. If you have any questions on any of these, please call Connie. All right, anybody have any questions of the financials?
Commissioner Moore.
I had one question there.
Page number.
The first two, actually, 4110 and 4120. Was that, I was just gonna ask, and I got the reading down, so at this point in time, last year, we collected 45% as opposed to, is that what that means? You got the current property tax, the very first one on the list.
The current property tax is 7.88. That's about where we were this time last year.
So, but for collections prior year, at 45.03, what does that mean?
That is last year's taxes that people are paying late that we're collecting this year.
Okay.
So they're paying, so because of that, you also have interest and penalties being accumulated down there.
Okay, I just wondering if that's where we were.
That's the last year's levy where people are paying late.
Okay,
So that doesn't have anything to do with actual money that the trustees collected?
That is the actual money the trustees collected.
But I'm from all departments, that's just taxes, that's just the back tax that they haven't paid from last year.
That is in the general fund. Every fund, so the way taxes are levied when we pass our tax resolution it is a levy by fund. So when the money comes in and you pay $100 taxes, it gets divided among all the funds. And then if you don't pay this year, it becomes a prior year, and it gets levied by the tax rate on the prior year.
And on our contract prisoner board, as you mentioned there, so you can't really take the same percent that we're going to be taking out of revenues and apply that to expenditures. There's a lot of fixed costs in the expenditures.
Yeah. So you lose 20 inmates on a given day, 30 inmates on a given day. You still have to staff the control room with that one person. There's one person in control room. There's generally one person that's roving the pods. And down, so there's there's about 3 people in there any given time on the upper part. You take 20 people out of there, you still have to have 3 people. You take 80 people out of there, you still have to have 3 people. You take 100 people out of there, you still have to have 3 people.
So what are we finding cost-wise from surrounding areas that we're sending inmates too, on a cost per day basis.
I don't do, we have talked about $60. That was when we were talking with Bob Bass, and he letting us know that there's facilities in Memphis and Hayward County. Chief Phillips is back there, Chief Hahn.
We've got a contact with Hayward County. They'll take the female TDOC prisoners. I'm still working with them, trying to get some details worked out. Ray County was sending a lot of their people to Anderson County, but Anderson County told Ray County to come get all their people. I called and talked to the chief up there and see what they could do to help us out. And right now, they've got an issue of their own, so that's probably not going to be a solution for us. So we're just trying to, we had a meeting today, just trying to see where we're at once we get rid of the TDOC people and I guess contact these other places that have beds and just see who's the best price. And, you know, logistically, it's going to be a nightmare, but.
Are you getting any prices, Chief?
Not yet, because we're still, we worked through a list of inmates today just to try to see who we're going to get out. I want to start housing folks if we can get them out, or they're talking about doing pretrial sentencing stuff with them, and they've also kicked around maybe utilizing the bracelets. So they're trying to get all that done before we get to the point where we're actually farming them out. And when it gets to that point, you know, we'll go with the best price, I guess.
And I guess the other question is, Ray County sends them to Anderson County, but they're still Ray County prisoners. Anderson County can say, come and get them at any time, is that right?
Anytime. And you know, from the way that I understand it, they had at one time an agreement, if they said, okay, we're gonna keep 20 beds for you, you know, while you're jockeying them people to and from court and to and from doctor's appointments, you're paying for 20 beds regardless of whether they're there or not. So that's a thing that whoever is in the negotiation part of okay, we're gonna do a 90-day contract, a 120-day contract, they're gonna give you a set price, but whatever that set price is, from the way that I understand it, it's gonna be, it's 20 people that you've worked out. If you got 18 there, you're still gonna get charged for 20.
Chief, how many state folks do we have?
And that number fluctuates, and this is kind
Okay,
of, it's a good question. Today, criminal court's going on right now. They got 9 people out, and now we got 9 warrants for 9 violations. So you're swapping people. So you get 9 out, you get 9 more back. We sent 8 to prison this morning, and we got more to come this week.
So if we're trying to get rid of state inmates, how do we get the state not for us to take new ones? I mean, it looks like we're fighting a battle that if the state is going to fine us or make us build a new facility, we've told them now we've got a plan, we're going to get rid of ours. Well, how can they continue to send us?
Well, they're not sending them to us. You know, the thing is how they become a state inmate is when they come through our criminal justice system, they're incarcerated in our jail, they're pretrial. Once they come here, they enter into a plea or they're found guilty. The judge sentences them, and if it's a sentence that requires prison time, that's when they become a Tennessee Department of Corrections inmate. And at that time, what we do, and I called Mr. Creech from the Department of Corrections. He's the guy that we called and he said, hey, this is what I got. We sent them, last week, I sent them 33 names of people that could go to prison. And so far, we've gotten rid of about 15 of those. Now, there's more people that are TDOC, but they're on a split confinement. So what they do, they come to court, and it's a technical violation. It's okay, well, you're going to spend 120 days. You're still a TDOC inmate. The prison's not going to take them. They're going to do their time over here, and they may do 90 days, they may do 120 days, but when you have those split confinements, or anything more than 2 years, the prison, or under 2 years, the prison's not going to take them.
How many of those do you estimate that we would have at any time?
15.
So, Counselor, is there some way that we can pass a resolution or something asking the state the situation that we're given? They're paying us $39 a day. We're paying $60 a day to take these folks somewhere else. If they're not going to take all of ours, is there some way we can't get the state to pay the difference in what we're having to pay? If we're trying to find a place for them and there's no place.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
We had Senator Yanker and Calfee here a while ago, we let them off.
Well, I couldn't, they weren't available. But is that something that's feasible for us to look at? If we're having trouble finding a place for those people?
Well, we can look at it, but, you know, I don't know what the answer is. But it's my understanding that the problem is if their sentence is under 2 years, the state's not going to take them, so they have to serve their time locally. And when they're serving their time locally, we're getting paid for them, is that correct?
$39.
$39.
And then it's costing us to send them somewhere else.
Right.
Well, it hasn't yet, but it's going to, so,
Right, so-
and those prices haven't been talked about.
So what you want me to look at then would be, is are we locked into that $39 figure, or?
I think we're locked into the $39 figure.
Is there some mechanism in the law where it could be more?
But yeah, they're telling us we have to build a new jail. Those 20 or 30 people that are there for splits or whatever are going to be there. So they're counting against us. I think we finally established that those inmates don't count against our total now, or they do count against. They do count against our total now. We found out last week.
If they're in that jail, they count.
Okay, so basically we're being penalized for 30 people that we're trying to get out. We're going to have to pay $60 a day. They're giving us 39s. It looks like they would be responsible for that difference if they don't have jail capacity.
All right, I'll see what.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
And I know Mr. Berry can contest to this. We've been here about going on 9 or 10 years, and that's the topic of every association meeting we go to, is that $39 a day for that. Mr. Meadows.
Thank you, Chairman Ellis. Mr. Phillips got a couple of questions that I believe you can answer. How many TDOC prisoners have been transferred out so far? I know we've had others in, but how many have we gotten rid of?
Well, and
I know
it's that number changes every day. There may be 2 getting released right now, so that's an ever-changing number. If they're only split confinement, we release them from over here, but that has actually been taken to prison. 8 went this morning. I've got 7 females, and I'm trying to get to Haywood County. They've got 6 more openings. It's just, it's actually took off pretty quick considering we're not the only jail in Tennessee that's got this issue. And, you know, everybody's kind of under the same, you know, ordeal. So when you call these people, you're looking at 95 counties funneling all their TDOC people into the prison system, which, you know, is kind of like herding cats, I guess you'd say.
But okay, and I guess if I'm hearing you correctly, we can say we're going to get rid of all TDOC or as much as we can, but then they're going to come on back in.
It's a never-ending cycle.
I mean, we can't stop.
That's right.
Because of the sentencing
Even when we're
guidelines.
not in session, here in the criminal court circuit, we take our inmates to Loudoun County, to Meigs County, to Morgan County. If there's an issue where the judge needs to see them, or they work out a deal, or whatever, or for sentencing. So it's 24/7.
When they're moving back to TDOC out of here, who moves them? Who pays for the transportation?
We do.
And do we provide the transportation? Do we pay for the transportation?
Yeah, we've got staff that takes them to wherever they go. And luckily here lately, we've just been taking them to Bledsoe.
But they're a state prisoner. Is there any reimbursement to us for any of those costs?
You know, the only thing that we've ever, and we've never really seen it, because it's not really happened that much. Whenever the Tennessee Department of Correction inmates incarcerated, and they get ill, they have to be hospitalized for more than 24 hours before we can be reimbursed any kind of funds. So when they're there, when they're ours, and whatever issues they come with, they're ours.
And one more last quick question. I know that there's been some discussion regarding the census or the head counts. Do the TDOC people, inmates, count against us?
I'm under the impression that if they're incarcerated over there, they're there.
Right, but
And they're counted.
when they
That Mr. Bass said that last time he was here.
But when you're looking
we've heard it both ways.
When you're looking at the 2 entities, TDOC and TCI, even though they're state entities, they are 2 different animals.
And then you got a fire marshal
And
As well.
that's another one, yes.
You know, and I think they all three count a little bit different, don't they, or do they?
No, they don't.
You get three accountants together, we'll all count them.
So here's the other thing that I want you to be aware of. There's 22 people that are temp released, and what that means is the feds have them, and they're coming back because they're ours. They're at a mental health hospital, they're coming back because they're ours. They're in Anderson County because they got court, and they're there on a transport order, they're ours. So you got 22 people that is not counting that 280 something from earlier that can come back any day.
And we don't control that.
No, we don't.
They just show up.
The feds will bring them and say, hey, we're done. Or Anderson County Council, hey, this is ready to be picked up. Or Moccasin Bend says, hey, we got this person here. So there's a lot of moving parts to this world.
Thank you.
We want to thank Chief Hahn and Chief Phillips for being here this evening. Thank you all. And I had Commissioner Hendricks. Did you not want to speak?
No.
Okay. Then I had Commissioner Hooks. Did you not want to? Go ahead, Mr. Hooks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Phillips, we moved the females out to Haywood County.
That's what we're going to try to do for the Tennessee Department of Corrections. They won't take any of the others.
They won't take it. But once they're moved out to Haywood County, we lose the $39 a day. It goes to Haywood County.
It does.
But we're not paying the additional.
Not for them, not for the state inmates.
Not for the state inmates, okay.
There's some jails that have vacancies, and they'll say, hey, we'll take a state inmate. They got to be Sunday school quality, zero health issues,
Right.
And that's hard to come by.
Right. I just want to make that point clear. They are a distinction between them. Then on the street.
Commissioner Hester.
So, Chief Phillips, today we had a meeting, probably the first time, I invited myself to it, but the first time ever, I guess, the public defender, district attorney, yourself, and members of your organization went row by row, name by name on the prisoners and identified pathways forward.
We had a real productive meeting today, probably one of the best ones we've had.
Yeah, I was happy to see it, seeing everyone work to try to lower that overall number. And I think it was very productive, and I think we're going to have that meeting again in 2 weeks, right?
I think we're going to try to meet on or before December the 2nd.
So what is our deadline that the state gave for us to have our numbers down?
December 4th.
December 4th.
Yeah, December 4th is when we go to Nashville for the TCI, and this is just me talking, I don't know that, since we've made a real big effort to do what's been done, I think we're gonna be good with TCI, and we're probably gonna be allowed to keep our certification. However, with the fire marshal, the way that the meeting that the mayor and a few of us were in last week, we've got to show them measurable progress where we have reduced the amount of inmates that's over there, just for safety of the facility, so that when you're in the event you have a fire or whatever emergency, you're able to get people out safely.
Yes, so let me jump in here just a minute, and I appreciate everybody taking my time since you all said speak instead of me, but let me jump back in here just a minute, and Chief, so on Wednesday, November the 13th, this was, I guess, after our Thursday meeting, I guess it was after, we met with the fire marshal. We met with their counsel, their attorney, their codes enforcement, and their policy individual. So we met with them, the sheriff, Chief Phillips, myself, who else was with us there? Randy, Commissioner Ellis. We met with the fire marshal about a path forward. At the time, we were looking at a population of about 320. They had no magic number, what we had to get down to, but they talked about the low 200s. So it appeared to us that we needed to get rid of almost probably 80 to 100. We knew that at that time there were about 50 or 60 TDOC, but of those we knew we weren't going to get rid of all of those. So They told us we needed to start looking to contract out to ship some of our inmates out. We recognize that Loudon is building, Meigs has no space, Morgan is building, Anderson is still building, Blount County's built. Yeah, there's going to be some available space, but it looks like most of it's in west and middle Tennessee. So that said, working with Bob Bass, we have drafted a letter that will probably be signed tomorrow by the sheriff and myself. It's a 2-page letter going to the state fire marshal. The state fire marshal, in it, we talk about this judicial committee that met today. We talked about having a top to bottom to top review of probation service and to have some recommendation to maybe enhance it or change it. The ad hoc committee that Commissioner Meadows chairs the other evening looked at a pretrial diversion department to be set up potentially, and that being discussed. All of that is outlined in the letter. It's outlined in that along with the resolution that you all passed last May that dealt with this $1 million to borrow it to get our sites ready. So the TCI then forwarded us a letter of, I may have got it yesterday, today sometime. It's about 6 pages that is kind of reiterates what we have sent to them and told them the whole time for a plan of action to them. TCI, Bob Bass TCI, they indicate that if we stay on the plan of action and they see effort being made, their regulation says that we will continue our certification. That does not mean that the fire marshal will, but we do think that if they can see a substantial reduction in our inmates, that they will be okay with that and they see measurable progress is what everybody talks about. Are we seeing measurable progress? So we feel very optimistic by this committee meeting, by us exploring the probation. The probation will be studied by both TCI and UT. It will not be something that we are studying, and as we've talked before, if probation changes and it comes in-house, it falls under the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the law enforcement branch. They cannot govern that. The same thing with the pretrial diversion. It will not rest there, it will probably rest in my office. So that's one reason I've never been excited about bringing those in-house, quite frankly. But we have a plan of action in place, and it will cost us money, we know, by the loss of revenue from TDOC, and by the inmates. It appears that there's no way out of us contracting out. Outside of like we said the other day, we got 3 options. You build more beds, you contract out, or you let them out. Now, letting them out, so to speak, comes into a number of programs that may be acceptable. So that is kind of where we're at on that. Any more questions about that particular part of the deal? Because we have a letter drafted, and once we sign it, and we've worked with Bob Bass, and we've edited going back and forth, and it's really, I said, we passed a resolution a week or so ago of that $1 million. It's on the agenda again tonight to reaffirm that passage, just because of ensuring that we have adequate notice. I said we won't do anything until the Monday night, November the 18th meeting, and then if that goes, we'll send you a letter and we'll start the process again.
Commissioner Hester, we're still under the financial portion of your report, so we need.
Well, and all this is kind of financial,
right.
yes.
I had Commissioner Berry.
That's fine.
Commissioner Moore.
Just an observation. this is a statewide problem, obviously. It's nationwide, if you watch TV and they're doing, I mentioned something to somebody the other day, I said, used to, you'd hear a lot more about the rehabs and things like that, and I'm sure there's probably a lot going on. But with the state, as a state, and it looked to me like, I know there's no such thing as free money, we all pay it, but it looked like with everybody, the counties being in the same situation just about everywhere, and NACO and all that could probably help. It looked to me like we could apply for grants and things because of this opioid epidemic where we can show that, you know, and a couple $1 million here or something like that instead of us carrying the whole bill. I don't know if there's anything out there, but we got a gaggle of good representatives.
Well, you know, that's a good question, and that's the reason we've got $1 million worth of drug grants out there.
Right.
You know, but the $1 million worth of drug grants is, you know, it's dealing with recidivism, as more as the initial incarceration and the punishment. So it's a long process, and we have a number of grants out there and apply for a number of grants. You know, I plugged the newspaper. I wrote articles in Friday's paper. Hope you all had a chance to read it. And it basically says that county government, we're a political subdivision of the state. So we are conducting activities that have been legislated that we conduct. You know, used to, every city had a jail, but since they didn't have to, they all came to us. And now you have the state with this inmate population crisis that they're just pushing it down to us. And so it's a matter that we need to take up with our legislators. There's no question. We have it, everybody else has it, having it too.
I just thought we might have asked that question somewhere in the right setting somewhere. So look, you know, y'all are telling us we got to do this, and you know, you're mandating it, but it's mandate without funding. You know,
I'm not so sure the state really recognizes the problem we have, that you're giving us $39, your people's taking our beds, and we have to pay maybe $60 to $100 to send ours out. Or we may even send ours out there, but it's
just a thought. I mean,
complicated.
It's been asked or whatever, but so.
I think the legislative committee could have their hands full starting about January.
Well, they probably could now.
Mr. Berry had one question.
And that's what I had written down. As I understand it, there's $1 million grant, mental health grant, that only Morgan County is even showing any interest in.
Well,
that closes the 26th.
Well, you know, we sent, or it was supposed to be sent out today to Senator Yeager's office, a request of, we've never heard of it. I mean, I've got a grant staff that has not heard of this, so we sent a letter to, hopefully it went out today to Senator Yeager, an email to his staff saying, let us know about it. Now, I was vaguely aware of it because the mayor in Morgan County executive called me last week and he says, what do you know about this? I said, I know nothing about it. And he talked about it was a construction project of $1 million.
It's brick and mortar for mental health, but
yeah, I'm thinking what's $1 million going to get you on the mental health issue out there?
Well, that's $1 million more than we had, and I think if you'll have somebody call Senator Yeager in the morning, in an hour or so, we'll get if we're interested in that.
Yeah, well, we've sent an email out there, and I'm not so sure. Like, you know, one thing we have to watch.
I think one of the questions you had too was the ongoing cost afterwards. What?
Yeah,
there is. I don't think there is any. I think this is.
We don't know about it, and I guess is the big thing. So we're out there looking for it, but I'm not so sure the state is aware of that $39 worth $60 to $100 that could be impacting us and every other county out there.
We're still under your report, Mr. Woody.
The only other thing I wanted to say, and this, we've talked to the budget committee a little bit about it, and maybe as mentioned a little bit at the ad hoc committee the other day. The measurable progress in the $1 million was trying to get us approval to see where we go. I'm assuming that gets approved since it got approved the other night. But what we're going to have to do as a team is determine, how we're going to progress with that once we have the authority to do it. Once we have the money of $1 million authorization, we're going to have to come together as a body, because I'm not doing this on my own, and it's not, you know, even though the appropriation there, and determine what the avenue is to address vacating that lot over there, because I think that's what they're looking at. They're looking at, okay, you've talked about building for 8 years now, we've seen some progress of acquiring property, at what point in time, and we're fixing to raise 2 of the houses over here for construction, lay down yards, parking and stuff, but the real big one that we're going to have to deal with is what now is the building and codes. You know, do we want to look at building an office complex for them? Do we want to rent a spot out for them? Do you want to move them into the courthouse? Do you want to just abolish building and codes altogether? I mean, you've got some options that we're going to have to be collectively making a decision on, and I don't know. You know, they talked about coming in the courthouse, but I mean, do you save money? Well, then you have to rent out space for the reappraisal team every 3 or 4 years, and then you have to deal with the tractors and trailers coming to the courthouse, and you got to deal with, you know, the contractors that you try to make the job as easy as they can, having them wait 30 minutes on a Tuesday morning to get a permit because it's court day and they're not standing on the first floor, they're going to the 3rd floor. I mean, there's advantages to bring them here, but there's a heck of a lot of disadvantages I don't think we want to put in. So I say that to say, folks, there's some decisions that we're going to have to make here in the next 30 to 90 days that are measurable. So I've been calling around about empty buildings in town that has an adequate parking lot and a turnaround space for vehicles, because we've got the pictures. We can show you at any given time a contractor comes in and they've been down to Lowe's, or they've been to Ace Hardware, or they've been to Scanlon's, and they've got stuff on their vehicle, or it's empty and they're fixing to go there and pick it up. So, Mr. Chairman, I don't know where we go on that, but it is a big decision to make going forward, and my report should have been 10 or 15 minutes, but everybody wanted to ask questions.
Commissioner Berry, then Commissioner Moore.
Just food for thought.
Do we still have the lease down on the building at Midtown there for some vehicles and things? Isn't that about $36,000 a year or something?
It's about $1,800 a month.
Is that something that we can, I think it comes due in June or July?
Well, and there again,
is that something that we can find places south of the river or someplace to vacate and use that money temporarily for a office lease?
Well,
or something?
it's probably not acceptable for an office.
No, I'm not talking about there. I'm talking about replacing that money if we can do something temporary, just to get out of that situation.
And you need to deal with the sheriff's department, because the sheriff's department, that is one of their storage facilities.
I hate to ask this question, but could you give a very brief, for some of the new commissioners, what he's talking about?
So
very brief.
So the county has, in the Office of Emergency Service, a lot of equipment. The sheriff has a lot of equipment. So when the county purchased the rescue squad building south, the OES vacated the premises down in Midtown, which was a warehouse, and we moved all that equipment under Tim Suter down south. The sheriff was needing space for a lot of reason, and again, is it because we didn't have enough of a lay-down yard over there or whatever, but they have occupied that facility. So it was out of the OES budget, and people on the OES committee knows this, and the Sheriff's Liaison Committee probably knows this, that lease agreement changed. Roane County still has it. It went from one budget to the other, but that is a sheriff's question.
It's in Midtown, right behind where Mike's Barber Shop, right beside the French's.
Chief, is that something we can look at and see? I think
you got a boat in there and
we got a lot of stuff in there, you know. We do have a lot of equipment. Got a DUI shredder, got a couple other trailers that we use whenever we get stolen property. Got a some of our tactical vehicles. We got
Okay.
a lot of stuff there.
That's fine. I was just looking to see if there's some place we can
again.
we can vacate.
And again, the question is, we could build a facility for that. I mean, we've got land leased from TVA at and it was for some of that warehousing. I mean,
Well, I think at one time we even talked about down at the landfill, right? Building some place for the sheriff to store some stuff at the landfill.
well, they've got I don't want to say, they have a place under security down there to be put.
Commissioner Berry.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moore, did you have something?
No, it's been answered, it's been talked about enough.
Mr. Woody.
That concludes my report.
Moving on, we'll start back under special orders, confirmation appointment of John Howe to the Roane County Board of Public Utilities due to the resignation of Greg Pallas. The term will expire June 20th, 2020. I get a motion on the board in a second.
It's frozen. We're gonna just, sorry.
Motion by Commissioner Berry, second by Commissioner Hester. Commissioner Berry.
Yes, John's a very fine guy. He's a former airplane pilot, military pilot. I think the only thing here is we really haven't received, and he represents our district, but we've really never gotten a resignation letter of any kind from the current member. And I think we just need I'd like to see us put something in place where at least the commissioners know when somebody from their district's coming up and on a resignation. This time, I mean, there's no problem. He's a good guy, and will no doubt do a great job. But I think in the future, if we can just have some kind of plan in place when we get a resignation. Usually it's in the minutes, and this coincides with not getting their minutes and us replacing him without any commissioners know anything about it. So, again, we got lucky. John's a good guy. Thank you.
Commissioner Hester. Nothing to call. Any other questions or comments? If not, Madam Clerk, could you call the...
Bell?
Aye.
Berry?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Rushiers?
Yes.
East?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Gann?
Yes.
Hendrickson?
Yes.
Hester?
Yes.
Hickman?
Aye.
Hooks?
Yes.
Meadows?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
And Wilson?
Yes.
It's 15 yes.
Appointment of John Howe to the Roane County Board of Public Utilities is approved. Moving to old business, resolution 9/1916, a resolution authorizing the issuance, sale, and payment of capital outlay notes in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $1 million. Motion by Commissioner Meadows, second by Commissioner Hooks. Commissioner Meadows.
Well, I think we've all heard of the need to do this and go ahead and carry forward and show measurable progress to alleviate the jail issue.
Commissioner Hooks.
Nothing further.
Any other commissioners on resolution 9/1916?
This is the same thing, right? This last
Last
we're passing it, last meeting, and we're passing it and appropriate the funds when you bring it back.
Well, funds will be appropriated, we just need to sit down.
The purpose, as you mentioned, the meeting.
Yeah, we need to sit down
Thank
and
you.
see our direction.
Any more questions or comments? We'll let the clerk call Hester if you could log back in your system while she's doing this. Madam Clerk.
Bell?
No.
Berry?
Yes.
Bowers? Yes. Rushiers?
Yes.
East? Ellis?
Yes.
Gann?
Yes.
Hendrickson?
No.
Hester?
Yes.
Hickman?
Yes.
Hooks?
Yes.
Meadows?
Yes.
Moore?
No.
White?
Yes.
And Wilson?
Yes.
12 yes and 3 no.
Resolution 9/1916 is adopted. Moving on to new business, Resolution 11/1901, a resolution authorizing the county attorney to file a lawsuit regarding the properties as listed on attached case request form by violating Roane County Resolution 11/1209 and/or Resolution 11/1208 regarding the 2012 International Building Codes and the 2012 International Residential Codes. Can we get a motion by Commissioner Meadows, second by Commissioner Hickman? Commissioner Meadows.
I yield to Mr. Coker if you'd like to address any of these.
Mr. Cofer.
If anybody has any questions pertaining to any other particular cases, I'd be glad to try and answer them for you.
Any questions? Mr. Meadows.
Not for me.
Commissioner Hickman. Any other questions for Mr. Cofer on Resolution 11/1901?
I know what you're building on.
Okay. If we can, ready to vote? Yeah.
My tablet ain't loading, so.
Oh. It's still, it's time.
Resolution 11/1901 is adopted. Did you find it on Stanley?
I got.
I'm going to vote no, I can't read.
You're not able to load it earlier today, or?
No,
Okay.
I've been locked out this thing.
I have a motion. I'm going to take a brief recess. I'm going to get Mr. Hendricks and everybody on the same page. About a 5-minute recess. Regarding Roane County zoning resolution and/or resolution 1/1403 regarding overgrown vegetation and accumulated debris. I got a motion by Commissioner Hester, second by Commissioner Bowers. Commissioner Hester.
Nothing falls, look at pictures, speak for themselves.
Commissioner Bowers.
Same.
Any other commissioners, questions on 11/1902? No, we'll go ahead and vote. Resolution 11/19 passes by a vote of 13-2. Resolution 11/1903, a resolution to authorize the county executive to execute a multi-year agreement with Comcast Business for supplying fiber internet connection to the courthouse. Motion by Commissioner Hester, second by Commissioner Meadows. Commissioner Hester.
I think with the time the technology changes, we need to faster data links here.
Yes. Yes. Commissioner Meadows.
That's long overdue, we need to do it.
Any other questions or comments on Resolution 11/1903? Commissioner Baker.
Is that the only one that we could get?
Is Comcast the only available internet provider here, Ms. Farnham?
No, we have currently Comcast, and it's a GSA contract, and the pricing is, very good.
Is any other available though? I don't think there is.
AT&T.
AT&T.
So, but thank you, Ms. Vaughn. It'll be 100 megabyte a second download link, right?
Yes, I think so, is that right, Kenny?
Yes, 100, 100.
Okay.
Commissioner Bell.
Oh, that's good.
Any other questions? What are we now, Mr. Berry? You got on your app, see what we're at?
Kim, I'm on there right quick.
Any other questions or comments on Resolution 11/1903? Not, we'll go ahead and vote. Resolution 11/1903 is adopted. I believe Resolution 11/1904 has been asked to withdraw. Okay, we'll move on to Resolution 11/1903. 05. A resolution to amend the General Capital Project Fund 171 TEQ by allocating the balance of a 3-year TVA grant awarded to the Roane County Office of Emergency Management. Motion by Commissioner Hickman, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Hickman.
All about free money, let's get it.
Commissioner White.
I have nothing to add.
Any other questions or comments? You're fine, go ahead.
Does it, what kind of equipment is it?
Tim, have you decided what the equipment, Have you decided what the equipment was on it? All these grants that we approved ended up going to the OES committee, but this is one of those 5-year, 3-year grants.
This is the grant. This grant requires the equipment we purchase to be able to be used in response to their facilities. So it can be, and I think for this grant, we were purchasing level 8 suits. Sorry, the hazmat suits.
Any other questions or comments? 11-1905. No, we'll go ahead and vote. Resolution 11-1905 is adopted. Resolution 11-1906, a resolution in support of efforts by the Tennessee State Legislature, Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Tennessee Valley Authority to control and prevent the spread of invasive Asian carp, especially silver carp, in all East Tennessee waterways, especially those located within the boundaries of Roane County, Tennessee. Motion by Commissioner Hickman, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Hickman.
I think this is probably one of the most important issues that we're facing. I think the efforts of everyone involved in looking at that, we really need to get serious about protecting the white spot.
Commissioner White.
I echo Commissioner Hickman.
I got a motion by Commissioner Meadows to amend.
Mistake.
Okay, gotcha.
Commissioner Berry.
Yeah, I put this resolution in because Asian carp is probably the most talked about topic in East Tennessee right now. And for some reason, a lot of counties surrounding us aren't taking it nearly as serious as we are. One reason, we have more miles of shoreline than any county around us. Secondly, our Environmental Review Board has done a super job of getting on top of this. It started with the aquatic weeds, now the Asian carp. And all this is doing is just asking, Senator Alexander, if you saw in the paper, has allocated millions to helping us, but it's not near enough. Folks in Minnesota just now are getting on board with the right kind of stuff that we need. And I'm not sure if you're getting emails or not from the board about what's actually happening. Tim Joseph has done a phenomenal job of keeping our folks aware, and some cases maybe doing too much because he's not taking no for an answer from anybody. But the Asian carp, one female can lay between 50,000 and 5 million eggs. So once they get here, you don't eradicate them. They're here, and they're here forever. And if you've seen any videos of them, you've seen they can jump 10 to 12 feet. They'll get 6 to 8 to 10 pounds in weight. They've actually caused concussions, all kinds of accidents. And basically, from our tourism standpoint, it kills our lake. The land between the lakes has been destroyed. So this is all this is doing, is just asking for help from the proper authorities and trying to, and this also will go to some other counties to try to get them involved as we are. So appreciate your support.
Commissioner Meadows.
I think Commissioner Berry said it very well, but we do have more shoreline than anyone in the state, and we have more to lose. And it takes cooperation from everybody. It's our livelihood, it's our future, and it's a really large part of our economy. I mean, this can be absolutely devastating around County, so we have to support this in any way possible. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Moore.
I think we need to figure that out Could have been a skillet or something. Just a left-handed comment here.
Point of order, I can't hear. I can't hear.
You know, we can get millions of dollars for weeds and fish, but we can't take human beings and put them in the jail and do anything with them. And I know it ain't got a thing in the world to do with that. You just kind of, it's a wonder to me how we spend our federal dollars when we're really needing help talking about human beings, so.
Since you brought that up, I think out in Paris, Tennessee, the IGA started selling Asia carp fillets, no joke.
Well, I'm telling you, you know, it's,
No, I've talked to the mayor and stuff out there, and they've got a big market in California, but just remember, you're not, Wash Bar's posted, so if they're here,
Right now.
it's posted, so you're not gonna be able to, it's a commercial fishing business out there, but you can't commercial fish on Wash Bar.
Yeah.
Commissioner Moore.
there again, my point is very well taken. We protect the fish when we protect the human being, so. But I don't expect anything less than that, you know. When we can pay for abortions for people, but we can't pay for places to take care of kids, so. That's just my.
Point taken, Mr. Moore.
I'm good, thank you.
Resolution, any more questions on Resolution 11-1906? No, we'll go ahead and vote. Resolution 11-1906 is adopted. Just right quick, Mr. Barry, I ran my internet speed. For everybody that's got internet issues at home and here, we're at 0.75 for her download speed. So that's, my house is like 984.
0.64. He's getting here next week sometime.
Moving to Resolution 11-1907, resolution in support of reestablishing an invasive species committee under the Roane County Commission oversight and direction with the scope of this committee to address issues associated with the control and prevention and spread of invasive species within the boundaries of Roane County, Tennessee, especially those that have a direct negative impact on the economic base and environment. The Invasive Species Committee will be the singular contact for all issues that fall under the invasive species umbrella, with examples including but not limited to invasive aquatic weeds, invasive Asian carp, and invasive plants within Roane County. Motion by Commissioner Berry, second by Commissioner Hendrickson. Commissioner Berry.
Yes, I just put this one in, again, to go with the other resolution. Environmental Review Board, again, this goes back to our old, when we had the aquatic weed problem, and we instituted this. Mr. Chairman, it really doesn't matter if this needs to be an ad hoc. There's no problem with how it gets or who is appointed. I just thought in response to the Environmental Review Board, we needed to have a committee that was working with them, because this thing, we need to have somebody that's on top of this thing all the time.
What I would like to see, and I appreciate your point of the resolution, the Environmental Review Board, like you said earlier, has done a lot of terrific work on this subject. And personally, I would feel more comfortable if we would send this directive to the Environmental Review Board and let them appoint a committee, and they can put a commissioner or two on it, but let them work within their umbrella, since they got the expertise of Dr. Joseph's on that ERB, so he might be a good fit for that. Do you have anything further?
I'm fine with however we do it. I just, unless you wanted to have two commissioners and 3 or 4 of them, I really.
Okay, right, let me get to Mr. Hendrickson, I got a motion to amend those. I got a motion to amend by Commissioner Meadows.
Chairman Ellis and Mr. Berry, I was kind of thinking along the same lines. I think they'd be better served under their umbrella, because honestly, they know who to choose, who has the expertise to do that. And I would propose that we ask them to form not even an ad hoc committee, a continuing committee under their umbrella, comprised of 5 individuals, one of which would be a commissioner of their choosing,
Well, they can put as many, that's fine with me. if they want.
Just some sort of odd number to make recommendations to us.
So we've got a motion by Commissioner Meadows to amend this resolution directing the Environmental Review Board to form a committee that falls under this parameter, and to include a commissioner on that committee. Does that sound,
Yeah, that's,
is that all right with you, Mr. Berry? You take that as a friendly amendment, Mr. Berry, Mr.
To include how
Hendrickson?
many members on the commission?
5, did you say, or 7, whatever you
let's say 7, because that's.
said. So you took that as a friendly amendment, a friendly second. Mr. Meadows, do you have?
If we're gonna do 7, why don't we put 2 commissioners, just so they feel
That's
like
what- yeah,
we got skin in the game.
That's
That's
I'll make that.
The committee, the ERB to appoint a committee to deal with this specifically outlined in the resolution, and 2 commissioners to be on that 7-member body. So I got a second to that amendment? Well, I took it, hold on, we took it as a friendly amendment, that's fine. Do you have the amendment recorded? Is that, are you good with that?
I do. Yes, sir.
So we're ready to vote on the motion to amend the resolution. We're waiting on it to pop, it's not popped up yet.
It is, it's up there.
It's not on our thing though to
sorry.
vote.
No, I've got the man.
There,
Sorry.
motion to amend.
We're voting on the amendment.
Amendment to motion to amend to send it to the ERB to create the committee. Resolution 11-1907 has been amended. Now we're back on Resolution 11-1907 as amended. Mr. Berry, any more comments, or
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Commissioner Hendrickson, you have the second?
None further.
Any more questions or comments on 11-1907 as amended? If not, we'll vote. Resolution 11-1907 is adopted as amended. Resolution 11-1908, a resolution to opt out of the negotiation class in the National Prescription Opioid litigation. Motion by Commissioner Meadows. Second by Commissioner Hendrickson. Commissioner Meadows?
I'll defer to Mr. Lefevre to tell us what we need to know regarding this issue.
All right. There were various federal lawsuits filed throughout the country by various governmental entities against 13 pharmaceutical manufacturers and suppliers that made or distributed opiate-type drugs. And these lawsuits claim that these manufacturers and distributors misled the medical industry about how addictive these drugs are. And they also allege in these lawsuits that these manufacturers and distributors knew that there were a lot of improper prescriptions of opiate products, and they had a duty to inform the authorities of that, and they did not. And these lawsuits claim that because of these actions or inactions on behalf of these 13 defendants, the local governments have had financial burdens dealing with the opioid crisis, dealing with treatment issues, dealing with the impact on the criminal justice system. And back in 2017, 200 of these lawsuits were combined into a federal court in Ohio to administer those lawsuits. In October of this year, that federal court entered an order that made every city and every county in the United States a party to that lawsuit for the purpose of trying to negotiate a global monetary settlement with these 13 defendants. And basically, under this order, which we are now, Roane County is now a part of this negotiation class in this lawsuit. Basically, under this order, if there is a global settlement reached, before the court can approve it, it has to be approved by 75% of the members of this class, which means we would get a vote. And then, if the settlement is approved, the money will be allocated to the different cities and counties based upon a mathematical equation, and please don't ask me to explain it because I don't understand it. But your percentage of any settlement is based upon the number of opiate prescriptions in your county, the number of opiate-related deaths, and the number of opiate-related addiction. Now, under this court order, if you, as a county, do not want to be part of this class and part of this global settlement, if one happens, then we have to submit some papers signed by the county executive on November 22 that indicates that the county has opted out. Now, the advantage of staying in this is you don't incur litigation expenses that you would incur if you went out on your own and filed your own lawsuit. And the litigation expenses in this would be pretty astronomical, would be very high because of the nature of expert testimony that you would have to hire in order to prove your case. But the disadvantage of staying in this is, like any other class actions matter, you've got one vote. If it settles, you're stuck with whatever is allotted to you. And at this point, you don't know what that's going to be. Of course, at this point, we really don't know if we went out on our own what our damages would be or what we would seek to recover. But anyway, based upon this, I prepared Resolution 11-1908 that, if adopted, it would authorize the county executive to opt out of this lawsuit. If you opted out, then you would preserve your right to file your own lawsuit if that's what you at some point chose to do. And then if you want to stay in this class action lawsuit, you don't have to do anything because you're automatically in it.
Commissioner Meadows.
Mr. Leffey, do you have a recommendation for us on this?
I do not, simply because I don't have any data or any information as to what we would likely be able to claim as damages if we went out on our own.
Okay.
But I can tell you that in order to prosecute this suit, if you go out on your own, you're going to have to hire medical experts, chemists.
It'd be very costly, wouldn't it?
Economists, and on top of that, that is to prove that you have damages. But you're also going to have the burden of proving that these 13 defendants knew that there was a problem and hid that, and you're not going to have any guarantee of having access to what the other plaintiffs have found. So you will have to hire some support staff deal with all of the rooms and rooms of documents that you're gonna have to get and go through.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, we'd have to hire our own legal team, experts, and
You're gonna have to hire expert witnesses, and you're gonna have to invest some money in employees to make this suit winnable. Simply, I mean, this is not something that I and my one secretary can do by ourselves if you did decide to file a suit.
Commissioner Madden.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hendrickson.
Yeah,
Commissioner Berry.
yes, at our county commissioner convention this last time, opioids and jails obviously were the big things. State representative came and said to us that the state of Tennessee, I guess, has worked with some other states, and what happens on this thing is the opioid settlement won't be anywhere near the tobacco settlement was, and what the defendants are wanting is they're wanting 18 years to pay it off. So there's very little money on an annual basis coming in to anyone. They figure it was about a $75 million deal for Tennessee. So then you look at Davison and the big counties and stuff. So that's why I think the state joined with what they did. So I'm guessing that if the state thought that this was something that they could do on their own, they would have done it on their own. And like Councilor was saying, I think it started in Ohio with some counties in Ohio.
The two big suits originated in Ohio, just based on what I've read. But all the federal suits were consolidated in Ohio because that was the center of the area where everyone could come to.
And I think the other thing is, every piece of evidence that we pick up has to be on our own, right? We can't go back and use what they've used in Ohio or somewhere. We've got to come up with our own.
Well, we don't have access to that because there's not been a trial. And the evidence is contained in the offices of the lawyers who are prosecuting or defending those cases. The evidence is not in a court file that one can go to and pull. Now, once there is an actual trial, then there will be evidence available that becomes a matter of public record. But right now, no, there's no guarantee we would have access to what the other parties have accumulated.
And even then, it's costly. Whatever you do is a very costly deal. But I thought it was interesting that they already are talking settlement-wise and trying to get it out over 18 years. So it's going to be a long, drawn-out thing. You're going to pay up front for your legal fees, and you're going to get something back on an installment basis.
You're going to pay up front for your litigation expenses, and you're going to have to hire a team of expert witnesses.
Thank you, Mr.
Commissioner Hooks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the DA's office got a grant a couple of years ago trying to compile some of this information. But I'm telling you, Roane County, that the data that they will be asking for, we're nowhere, we're not ready. I mean, we don't have the data. It's only in the last couple of years, I think, been even looked at here in Roane counties. And up to that point, we didn't have no data. And Tim may know better than I, but I don't think that it would be hard pressed, even if we had a team of experts, it would be hard pressed to even find the data within our county to support such a case.
Commissioner Bell.
So if we support it, if we don't vote to this, that puts us liable to have to hire X, Y, or Z to get this thing through.
No, if you adopt this resolution, then
you're out of the class and you're out of that lawsuit, so if you want to seek recovery for opiate issues, you'd have to file your own lawsuit.
Then it would cost us.
Yeah, that's what
But
we
if we don't opt out of it, it gets fought for us for free of charge.
It gets fought for you free of charge, but you don't have, you got one vote on whether or not you want to agree with the outcome.
Right, which, how could that hurt us?
And like I say, it's just, you don't have any, you really don't have any control over the outcome.
Right, but how could that hurt us? Could it hurt us financially?
Well,
If
like
we
I
stay in
say,
it?
I don't know, because like Commissioner Hook said, we really, to my knowledge, we don't have the data to show that how the extent of how the opioid crisis has affected Roane County government. So if we had an idea as to what damages we might accrue, then it might be worth looking at filing a separate lawsuit. But if we don't know what we're likely to recover, then it's probably not worth filing a separate lawsuit.
For some reason, I'm not understanding.
I think to clear what, I understand what Mr. Bell's asking. If we opt out of this lawsuit, we'll eventually, and if we want to file something, have to do it on our own in the future.
We have to do it on our own.
Right, and if we vote no on this tonight, that keeps us in the lawsuit.
That keeps us in.
We don't have to, we're gonna get something,
And
yes.
it's paid for and we could get something.
Correct.
Yeah, it's paid for and you
No
can get
brainer.
something.
Very good, good, thank you.
Commissioner Moore.
I'm not an attorney by any means, don't deal with the judicial system much, but personally, I'd rather go up against that counselor a year ago with me and get some stats that I put together and say we had 32 died last year of this in the population 50,000, I don't know. I'm just thinking of numbers rather than put us one out of 1,000 counties across the, I don't know if that would make any difference for the jury or whatever. I know you see class actions all the time, so. And I don't know that it means anything, I just seem like if you decided you was gonna go against it, you know, other than a call, we can put a whole lot more effort in it if we ever decide to do that. Of course, on the other hand, we don't have to do anything, we're just included, so. I'm not dead set against it, I just feel like we remove our ability to ever file a lawsuit if we go in this class action, is that correct?
You can file a lawsuit, you can still file a lawsuit, but if this class action settles before your lawsuit is resolved, then that gets rid of your lawsuit. You can't collect twice.
I'm good, I've got mixed feelings, I don't know if we'd ever get to that point, but I know we've had a lot of people died in a small county that it might be easier to tell somebody than it would be, we've had 1,000 deaths with 100,000 people or whatever, a county like ours.
So just to clarify, before we vote on this, a yes vote would be opting out of the negotiation class, would pretty much be on our own moving forward.
Right.
A no vote on this would keep us in the class action suit where we would join up everybody else and we wouldn't have no out-of-pocket expenses.
Right.
Does everybody understand that?
Just for clarification, in a whereas if Roane County remains a member of this class action lawsuit, it will receive a share of any monies awarded to the class. However, it will be bound by the outcome of the lawsuit. And then it says opts out of the class action lawsuit. Okay, so therefore resolves it then. So we need to vote yes.
Okay. What do you vote?
No, that ain't what he just said.
No, if we vote yes, it knocks us out of the class action.
Yeah, if you vote yes, it knocks you out of the class action.
If we vote no, we stay in the class action.
The free class.
Yeah. So any more questions or comments? Is everybody clear on what a yes and a no vote means before we vote? Madam Clerk, we'll take the vote.
Yes, we stay in, no, we get out.
No.
Yes, we're out, no, we're in.
Right.
Commissioner,
Resolution 11-1908 has failed. Right quick, we got the 13th Annual Founders Day coming up here on the second floor, November the 26th at 6 p.m. And I also want to ask